Make sure you subscribe to JerCrispy.
What's up, y'all? It's your host with the most, that's the most, JerCrispy. Welcome back to another video. Today, what I got y'all, the king of the planet of the apes is now about to be. Well, Cornelius is basically the ape son. It's gonna be a good or bad idea. So basically, he got a son now. I think in this like the third movie for the Planet of the Apes. This coming out this year or next year, I don't know. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow all the social media. It's gonna pop up on the screen, and let's see.
When Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was first announced, many fans understandably assumed that it would focus on Caesar's son, Cornelius. But since it was revealed that the film would take place 300 years in the future and focus on a new character named Noah, some fans have expressed some disappointment. Do they have a point, or is this the right direction for the franchise? Let's talk about it. If you like what I do here and want to show your support, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. Enjoy the video.
Dang, the Century of the Apes?
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Ape Nation, your #1 source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and today I'm talking about something that's been somewhat of a point of contention among the Planet of the Apes fans over the last month or so, and that is the decision that was made for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes to not be about Cornelius.
I might take my little best friend to go see this movie. I'm not lying to you.
And instead be about a new character set in the far future, long after Cornelius and all of Caesar's other apes have passed. This is something that I've wanted to talk about, and I've talked about in other videos, but I really wanted to just dedicate an entire video to it. There's a handful of fans that are still not on board with this new direction. They wanted this movie to be about Cornelius and following the characters that were set up in the first 3 Planet of the Apes films. Obviously not the first 3, but the Caesar trilogy of Planet of the Apes films. In my comments, I've seen, over the last month or two, just not a whole bunch, but I've seen handfuls of people still going, I think this was a bad idea. Why aren't they continuing the story? Where's Cornelius? A wasted opportunity. We're not going to see them. All that kind of stuff. And then I've seen a lot of other people say they're really excited. They can't wait to see the new characters. So what I wanted to do today is talk about 5 reasons why I think this is a great decision for the Planet of the Apes series to be going in a new direction with a new story and new characters, and then talk about 3 reasons why it could backfire on them and why it could be a mistake to do this instead of telling the story about Cornelius following War for the Planet of the Apes. Before I get into these points though, I did put up a poll. I wanted to gauge what you guys had to say. I thought it would be a little more split, but it was actually pretty unanimous. So I asked you guys what you thought of the movies going away from the Cornelius story and telling a new story about new characters. 78% of you said you are more than okay with this, that you love the direction and you can't wait. And 19% of you said you just want to see more, but you're not sure. Only 3% of you said you don't like this decision. So obviously this is much less of a contentious point than I originally thought it would be, but I still want to talk about this because I do think there are valid points on both sides of the aisle. And then I'll talk about where I stand and why at the end of the video. So getting right into this, why I think they should go in a new direction and why I think it's a good thing that they're telling a new story with new characters. Reason number 1, they have a clean slate with tons of storytelling opportunities for the filmmakers. And why I think this is a good thing is because while yes, sometimes you can have creativity come from having essentially a clean slate, obviously it's not a complete clean slate. There is history in this universe with Rise, Dawn, and War, but having a clean slate where all the characters we already know, they're gone, and this is a period of time where we're completely unfamiliar with and we don't know what the future holds. It allows Wes Ball and Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver to come in and start again the way they did with Rise. It allows them to tell whatever story that they want to tell. It allows them to be artists and be filmmakers and really bring to life the thing that they want to bring to life on screen in the way that they best see fit. And in my opinion, opinion, that's how you get the best art in most cases. That's how you get the most exciting and the most refreshing stories and characters, by allowing the artists to really just have as wide and as blank of a canvas as they possibly can. And so by giving them this clean slate, I really am excited for what West Ball is going to be able to do, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to bring to the table. And speaking of bringing something to the table, that is my second point. They're going to be able to bring something brand new to the table and expand the world. And that's something I'm really excited about, is that we're going to get to see this world expanded in ways that never would have been possible if this took place 10 years or 15 years after War for the Planet of the Apes. There's only so much you can do after that time period. And by limiting yourself to just that 10 to 20, 30-year window post-War for the Planet of the Apes, where Cornelius would have been alive, you're not really able to expand the world. You're not really able to build out the mythology of the Planet of the Apes. You're not able to really explore much more than you already did in the first three movies. By telling a story set 300 years in the future, you're already setting yourself up to have new history that didn't get to see in that 300-year time gap. And then we're also going to get to see what new things they bring in this film and how they explore all that history that's probably going to have been established. There's so much you can do, and I'm really excited to see just what new stuff that they bring to the table in this new story with this new time period. My third point for why a new story set 300 years in the future is the right approach is it takes us closer to the time period of the original film. Now, obviously, these movies are not set in the same continuity as the original Planet of the Apes film from 1968. However, they are still building towards their own version of that movie. They're still building towards whatever that time period in this continuity looks like. At least that's what they've alluded to. And so this is the first major leap from Rise, Dawn, and War into a time period that is much more closer to what that is going to be. It's not quite there yet, but it's a big stepping stone, and I'm really excited about that. If we were to continue just making movies that take place every 5-10 years, it would take 150 movies before we get to that time period. And as much as I would love 150 Planet of the Apes movies, I don't want to see them take forever to get to that part in time.
Whoa, 150 Planet of the Apes movies? Yeah, the Planet of the Apes must be hitting like that, because ain't no way I'm watching no 150 freaking Planet of the Apes movies.
I'm excited that they're doing a bit of a jump, and I'm sure however long this story takes place over, maybe the next trilogy will take place another 300 or 600 years in the future after that. So I like the time jump, and I like that it takes us closer to that period of time. It allows us not just to make our way closer to that time period that hopefully we're going to get to see eventually, but it also just allows us to get a little more familiarity. You know, it brings us back to that world of the 1968 film, but while still maintaining its own continuity and being in its own world. And it has echoes of that world, it has echoes of that universe and echoes of that film, and we see the shades of what will eventually become the Planet of the Apes that we all know and love. But we're not there yet. But the fact that we're so much closer now, it really just makes all the difference in how the movie feels, and I'm really excited to experience that throughout the entire movie. And now we have my fourth point about why it's a good decision to go in this new direction. And this is something that might upset some people. Maybe you'll just disagree. And ultimately, it's just my opinion. But when people talk about Cornelius and how we're not going to get to see his story, we're not going to get to see him learning how to live in the shadow of his father or become the new leader or something like that, we all kind of just assume that that's what the story would have been. We all just assume, oh, Cornelius is the son of Caesar, so naturally he's going to rise above and become the new Caesar. There's multiple reasons why that doesn't necessarily make total sense, and there's also reasons why it could work, but for me, it's just a matter of we were never guaranteed that. You know, nothing about those three movies ever guaranteed that Cornelius was going to have some epic grand adventure to follow in the footsteps of his father. You know, the entire
so they just gonna So they just gonna wait and hold up for another movie for just Cornelius to have the step up his father? They might as well in this movie might as well get him the steps away to to fill that role as as Caesar. Like, hey, come on, bro.
Especially the ending, was Caesar taking his people to the safe place where they can live out the rest of their lives in peace. To me, having a whole new movie where Cornelius has this new journey and adventure and hardship he has to overcome, whatever that would be, would kind of just defeat the purpose of War for the Planet of the Apes in a way. Not completely. I don't even think it would take anything away. It would just be like, why? We've already seen this. I don't really need to see it again. It sometimes feels like maybe people just want to see a story that's an extension of the thing they already love, which is Caesar, and Cornelius is kind of the only thing we have, so let's see a story about Cornelius. And that's totally understandable. I understand wanting to see what you're familiar with, and I understand wanting to see things that we already love continue. But for me, it's just a matter of Cornelius never was really guaranteed to have a story, at least not a story like Caesar did. So I don't really think there's anything being missed out on there, but I could be wrong. There's tons of talented writers out there that could have come in and found a way to tell a story, so you never know. So that was my fourth point, my fifth and final point and reason why I think it is a good thing that they are taking the Planet of the Apes saga in a new direction with new characters is, and this isn't a huge deal for me, but you do risk tarnishing the legacy of the Caesar trilogy if you were to do that. You know, for me personally, if a movie in a series isn't good and it has no impact on me personally, it doesn't affect me, I don't really care. For me, Indiana Jones is still a trilogy. I can just live with that and it's perfectly fine in my head. But for other people, it ruins it. It's hard to stomach, so to speak. And so if you were to make a fourth movie that was so directly linked to war, and if it wasn't good, now that trilogy becomes this series of movies with a weak link of a fourth film, whereas now it's just its own trilogy and it's always going to stand on its own as its own trilogy and nothing's ever going to take away from that. And I think there's something really special to be said about that. I think that's really cool that they're just letting it rest as its own thing, and maybe we'll revisit some of those characters in a TV show or in a comic or in a book someday, but for now those characters had their story told and I'm really happy about where it left. I want to talk about 3 reasons why the people who are against this new direction might have a point. So my first point about why it might not be a great idea to go in this new direction is because the audience might not be as interested in a Planet of the Apes film without direct connections to Caesar. While we, the Planet of the Apes fans, are always excited to just get a new movie, to get new content, to get new stuff to watch and expand the universe, the general audience really resonated with Caesar. While I do think this movie's going to do well, I do wonder how well it's going to do when people look at it and go, oh, Caesar's not in this. Oh, this isn't connected to Maurice or Rocket or any of the characters we already know. Is it going to do as well? I don't know. There's no way really to know, but I do wonder if that's going to have a negative impact on the box office. I do wonder if it's going to have a negative impact on if people are even interested in seeing this movie. I do think that could play a factor. By how much, I'm not really sure. The second point I have for why it might not be a great idea to go in this new direction is something that kind of flies in the face of what I just said earlier, but there is a bit of a missed opportunity.
Hey, but I agree with that. Like, when I was Caesar, bro, for the Planet of the Apes, ain't nobody was gonna watch no Planet of the Apes without that dude, Caesar, bro. Ain't nobody not finna watch no Planet of the Apes, bro. Planet of the Apes, he's the biggest part of Planet of the Apes. Without him, ain't nobody watching no Planet of the Apes at all. Ain't looking at the humans and all that. They gonna click the TV out and keep on going over their day with that.
To see how Caesar's apes evolved post-War for the Planet of the Apes and seeing Cornelius have his own story told. Like I said, I didn't really think there was much of a story to be told, but on the other hand, there could have been. You know, someone could have found a way to tell a compelling story about Caesar's son Cornelius living in the shadow of his father and maybe for some reason having to rise up to the occasion and become a new leader just like Caesar was. We don't know, but it is still a missed opportunity in some way. More so, not seeing the post-world of Caesar's death. You know, it could have been cool to see.
I feel like in the movie they gonna kill that dude Caesar, and his son's gonna be the new kingdom for that thing. Watch, I'm telling y'all, bro.
Who does step up and become a leader? Is there even a new leader, or do they all kind of just live peacefully on that desert? Maybe Maurice and Rocket are the new leaders. You never know. It would have been interesting to maybe see the conversations had between characters like Maurice and Rocket, or between Maurice and Cornelius about Caesar's death and Caesar's legacy and Caesar's impact and everything all the apes have gone through, and, you know, what are they going to do for their future? All these kinds of conversations I'm sure would be fascinating to hear. I'm sure there's smaller stories stories that could be told in that time period. So not getting to see that, and it is a bit of a missed opportunity. So I can definitely see why someone would be against this new direction because of that. So that's why it's my second point. And my third and final point is that if people don't like these new characters the way they liked Caesar, if people don't like this movie, this could be the end of the series for now. You know, obviously it's been 7 years since we got our last Planet of the Apes movie, but if people don't respond to Noah and to Raka and to May and all these new characters the way they responded to Caesar and Maurice, then that could put a close on this series and a close on this new trilogy before it even starts. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I do think they're going to be good. I do think people are going to like them, but you never know. It's a coin flip all the time with things like this. It's a risk to tell new stories. It's a risk to introduce new characters, but we'll just have to see. So ultimately, I think you could have deduced by now, I do think it is a very smart direction to go in with this new 300-year time jump. I do think telling a new story about this new character named Noah, who we don't know anything about, I think it's the smart play. I think it is the right way to go. I think there's just way more pros than there are cons. Obviously, like I said, I can understand where people who are against this story and against this new direction are coming from, but at the end of the day, I think it is the right decision, and I'm really glad that it's the decision that got made when making Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I can't wait to see that new direction when this movie hits theaters this May. Thank you so much for checking out today's video here on Ape.
That was the Kingdom of the Ape by Cassia. It's a good thing or a bad thing. If you like, comment, subscribe, love y'all to the bottom of my heart. Follow us on me to dip pop up on the screen. We're on the road to 300.